Communication for Development, or C4D, is a two-way process for sharing ideas and knowledge using a range of tools that empower people and communities to take action and change their lives. In other words, C4D is a people-centered way of communication. In this module, we'll give you a rundown on the models and approaches in communication for development. Like any development initiative, C4D puts people at the center of the action. How? We need to recall our communication models and then take a look at the approaches in communication for development. There are three generic models of communication: unilinear, transactional, and systems. The unilinear model views communication as a sequence of events with a beginning and end. The best way to think of this model is to imagine someone doing a monologue.
Last night, I heard this noise. And I would think, am I hearing something? And all night long, and I was like, okay, either the pool filter is broken or Mama found the boxed wine.
In the transactional model, the two-way, cyclical, and processual nature of communication is emphasized. Here, the participants are both senders and receivers.
Pretending to be my friend, and I made you my maid of honor.
Who asked you to do that? You knew me, what, 8 minutes?
Michael trusted you, so I trusted you.
You wanted to keep me close. You didn't trust me for a second.
The systems model adheres to the principles of general systems theory, which explains the phenomena as wholes made up of interacting, interdependent, and interrelated parts, working together towards one goal or set of goals of the system. Think of a collaboration, a meeting, or even family dinner.
I killed the king, Mom.
He killed the king.
All right.
He did kill the king.
Right. Don't encourage
But he
him.
was lying to everyone and told everyone that he killed me.
I don't want to hear any more about your Dungeons and Dragons or your Fruity Cocoa Puffs or whatever the hell it's called.
fairyland with him. We're trying
Today, the approaches to communication for development reflect the paradigm shift from top-down to bottom-up development theories that are more deeply rooted in the transactional and systems models. Throughout the discussion of the various approaches to communication for development, you will find characteristics of this paradigm shift: a focus on citizen participation in rights, valuing the role of local content, espousing empowerment, dialogue, and engagement. Now, let's take a look at the approaches. First, there's action research. It is usually carried out by the researcher, who also stands to benefit from the aimed social change. Most of the time, action research is carried out by teachers and educators within the context of learning. Next is advocacy, which is essentially persuasive communication which generates support from leaders and agencies for or against an issue. Third is community communication, wherein social interaction among small groups is undertaken through the use of interpersonal or indigenous or small media. Here, community does not just refer to people living in one place. They could also be people with the same interests or goals who are separated by geography but are linked through ICT. Communication for Technology Transfer in Agriculture, or CTTA, is aimed at communicating agricultural technologies to farmers using a 5-step process: assessment, planning, materials preparation and message delivery, implementation, and evaluation, or simply remember APMIE. Community organizing, on the other hand, is the coordination of cooperative efforts and campaigning carried out by local residents to promote the interests of their community. This includes 3 phases: awakening, empowerment, and restructuring. Next is community participation, which doesn't differ much from community organization, except that it is more generic in scope. Another approach is development communication. Sounds familiar, right? DevCom, which uses a broad range of tools to transform the country and its people, is a larger discipline that covers all the approaches and domains in this list. Development Support Communication, or DSC, is the use of appropriate communication channels to increase participatory development and to inform, encourage, and train rural populations at the grassroots level. Like CTTA, its 11 steps can be shortened to 5: A, P, M, I, E. Diffusion of innovation refers to the adoption of a technology on a social level, while the innovation design process occurs in the individual level as a mental process. In the first two stages of adopting an innovation, mass media is primarily the channel. But in making a decision, it's usually interpersonal channels at work. You can imagine this as seeing an ad on TV about the latest iPhone. It's only after your mother, teacher, or best friend tells you how great the iPhone XS is that you'll probably decide to buy one. The next approach is educational communication. This model aims to induce learning in non-formal contexts through the design, development, and use of multimedia materials for both formal and non-formal education. Information, Education, Communication, or IEC, is often described as the communication component of a development program, and it combines information delivery, training, human resource development, awareness, and motivation communication campaigns. Networking or alliance building isn't about getting invited by a grade school classmate you've never heard of for years for breakfast, only to be offered a marketing opportunity. In communication for development, networking is about forging relationships with government agencies, NGOs, political leaders to help you advocate an action or a program. Think of this as strength in numbers. The next approach is participatory action research, or participatory research. This is a method of social investigation, an educational process, and also a method of taking action for development which is conducted within the community. Another approach is called program communication. This is essentially the communication component of a development program and is often interchangeable with IEC. Next is science communication. The aim of science communication is to make scientific methods and results available and understandable to the public. Science communication is geared towards the development of a science culture and to consider knowledge as common heritage. Think of National Geographic Channel, open access journals, or Sir David Attenborough's documentaries on nature. Rather than sell Coke or a Samsung Note 9, social marketing is concerned about selling ideas and practices. It's a powerful tool that uses the strengths of commercial marketing to influence behaviors and bring about social change. Social mobilization is the process of bringing feasible, practical, and social allies to raise people's awareness of and demand for a certain development program, both at local and national levels. Next is strategic communication, which traces itself to population communication. In this science-based approach, significant information are generated, analyzed, interpreted, packaged, and shared with specific groups using various channels to entertain and educate with the aim of changing behaviors. Strategic Extension Campaigns, or SEC, aim to answer the issues on why farmers do not adopt certain agricultural technologies or innovations. Like CTTA and DSC, SEC has several steps which can be summarized into 5. Once again, A, P, M, I, E. The second to the last approach is technology commercialization. This approach covers a broad range of marketing activities, from the innovation of products, the packaging, product development, and product improvement. Last is technology dissemination and promotion. Its focus is to popularize technologies which were developed by research and development institutions. It applies IEC, DSC, SEC, and CTTA approaches. Approaches in communication for development reflect transactional and systems communication models. There is a great emphasis on participatory activities, while local knowledge, content, and feedback are highly valued. Some of these approaches are also interrelated. Advocacies flourish when they network or link with the private sector, NGOs, or the LGU. Community organizing activities, when effectively implemented, can turn into a social mobilization movement with a wider reach and a greater impact. Communication is not just a simple process of sending out a message. The approaches we've tackled illustrate how communication, as a means of development, is a dialogue which involves relationships between individuals and various social groups. Social issues are often the catalysts for dialogue to start among participants and are the first step towards collective action for social change.